traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Premarket Info.
Interesting day yesterday. Some stocks up, some stocks down. The futures were down overall at the end of the day. Some sell imbalances driving the market down, but the S&P futures are bouncing a bit here this morning. We've had some comments from a couple of banks, Wells Fargo and State Street. Apple falls ahead of the iPhone 5 release yesterday. Had a tough day, but is bouncing back a bit here this morning. AIG does indeed price their offering a little bit lower, like we suspected yesterday, at $32.50. Retailers are also in the news here. You've got a profit warning from Burberry. We'll get to that too. It's affecting some of your high-end retailers. But first, let's talk about this overall market.
The market went up, tested that 1438.75, which was Friday's high, got up to 1438, and then I think the weakness in Apple and just kind of no follow through on that after making an all-time high. I think people got a little skittish there as Apple dropped 20 points.
It really did. It made that new all-time high, just ticked up there up to 683. Then the sellers came in and they drove this stock down all day, driving it as low, obviously, down to 662, settling at 662.74. So wow, what a sell-off for Apple yesterday. It is bouncing today. It's back up at 667.54. But where does this stock head here ahead of the iPhone 5 release slated for tomorrow?
Well, I think you got a lot of rookies in here trying to time the iPhone release. There's a lot of different statistics leading up to the run-ups and run-downs after the stock. So I think you have your little old lady from Pasadena in here trying to play Apple, ahead of this. 20-point range in it yesterday. I got numbers on it for 40 points. You got to imagine after that kind of a sell-off, over a 20-point sell-off, that the next rally is going to be met with a little bit more resistance. I don't see any major resistance really up to the 669.38. Let's just call it the 670 level. That would kind of mark the midpoint of yesterday's range. Coming back on the downside, we did trade below yesterday's low, 662.10 in the pre-market. But the bidders got out there right around the 660 level. So keep an eye on that. Don't get too faked out if we go through 662 because they're supported 660. But after 660, not a lot of support until the 655 level.
Yeah, expect volatility, though, definitely ahead of that iPhone 5 release there tomorrow. I think last time they had the release, their new product release, the stock had run up right until they did the release, and then it sold off after. So a lot of people were anticipating, it'll have a nice run. Even, myself, I was saying on the show yesterday, it may run up ahead of this like it had previously. Did the exact opposite, I think. So obviously I was wrong on that. And I think you had the little breakout. You caught a few traders that were saying, it's making a new high, this is going to be the run. So it just got a little bit too crowded on the long side, and that's why you had the vicious sell-off. Do have some other stocks here to talk about, but there was some crazy moves yesterday too, though, in IBM. Look at the strength yesterday in IBM. It's really a stock picker's market here.
Yeah, IBM had a double top. Past tense, 199.50. It actually closed on the high of the day on Friday, sold off a little bit, but once it came back through that 199.50 level, there was really nothing holding it back, regardless of what the market was doing. You got a level to keep an eye on here at the 202 level. That was our high on August 17th, but boy, I tell you, that stock really bucked the trend yesterday. So let's keep an eye on 202.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Like we were saying, and for the last year, really, a lot of the stocks are correlated and they all kind of move together. Just hasn't been the case for the last few months, and definitely not the case yesterday, because you had some stocks strong, some stocks weak. I mean, IBM to be up yesterday on that tape, great relative strength there. Johnson & Johnson was another one, breaking out over the 68 level. It opened up kind of high, I think caught a few OPG traders off the bat, and just kept running up here and finishing strong, despite the market's overall weakness.
Yeah, that stock J&J did bust through the $68 level. Really found no resistance up to 68.47. Sold off a little bit at the end of the day. But if the algos smell a buy or something like that, they jump ahead of it. They could care less what the S&Ps are doing.
Well, we do have some comments this morning. Wells Fargo saying they see their net interest margin declining in Q3. They said that happened last year as well, so it wasn't unexpected. But the stock is trading down on that news, 34.19. Interesting enough, State Street, which is symbol STT, said a similar comment here this morning. They see a net interest margin decline as well. But they came out and they said that they do see long-term earnings per share growth of 10 to 15%. So State Street actually did trade up on that news just because of, they think, the EPS comments, but now it's trading flat. So State Street's trading flat at 42.92. Wells Fargo trading down on that NIM news.
Yeah, that Wells Fargo is kind of entering a scary area here. Last Thursday, you had that major run along with the market. Busted through 34, went up to 34.95, had a little follow through on Friday. But now you're coming back down through that vacuum area. So really don't see any major support in Wells Fargo to just till 33.97. That might be overdoing it a little bit today, but we're only a little over 20 cents away from that level. Coming back on the upside, you see a lot in this kind of pattern here. Stock closes on the low of the day, 34.59. That will act as major resistance.
Yeah, I don't think it's overdoing it. We're trading 34.19 right now, so I think it could fall that extra 10 or 15 or 20 cents that you're talking about there. 34 looks like almost a magnet area to me, so it wouldn't surprise me if we do see 34 here, but also wouldn't surprise me if this thing did catch a bid eventually. But definitely we talk about those areas. When they run up quickly through an area, they often run down quickly through the area. Now the news is probably driving it down here, so it's not all technical factor here obviously, but just when there's not a lot of reference points, stocks can move through those areas relatively quickly. AIG in the news, we talked about it yesterday that the government was coming out and going to offer their shares, or offer a good chunk of their shares in a public offering. They announced the price at $32.50, which we speculated it would probably be lower. That is indeed driving the price down today, $32.59. Joel, this thing has traded 12 million shares here in the pre-market. That is absolutely incredible volume here. Definitely some traders here using the opportunity to buy it, but also other ones using it to lighten up. That 32.50 number could act like a floor here. What do you think?
Yeah, you had several tops in that area back in early August, and then a gap up and go. So now you get this consolidation. My memory serves me correctly. The last few times that these have really served as support in the stock. Obviously, the government has to make it at a price. They can't do it too high, or they won't find any takers. So they put it at an attractive level here at 32.50. So probably won't stray much from that price over the next few days.
Yeah, I actually put a position on there too, just for full disclosure. But 32.50 it would be my bogey price. Starts to trade through there, and you did see this offering back in the I think about 3 or 4 months ago. We actually had a broad market sell-off that coincided with an offering, so it did trade below it. So it can act like a floor, but it's not a guaranteed floor. So I don't think 32.50 has to stop there. But that's just what it has done in the past. Other stocks in the news here, we got PANW, which is Palo Alto Networks, and that stock is trading down significantly on their earnings release there last night. The stock actually announced earnings. They were okay on the earnings, but the high end they missed. So the stock actually selling off here about $4 here this morning.
Man, it seems like everybody's having decent earnings and warning, but doesn't seem to affect the market. When that news came out, this stock took an immediate nosedive. It got down to 62 and a quarter. Since then, you've had a pretty good run up here. Looking for resistance here at the $68 level. Only a smattering of volume here, not a lot, but on the other hand, this stock trades between a quarter of a million and a little over a million shares yesterday. So Wonder if someone had the heads up on this news or was taking advantage and getting out ahead of their earnings release. There is a scary area here in the stock. You had a day basically where it closed at 64.38, made a 63.90 low, and then rallied over $7. I'm not sure what the news was on that day, but you have a scary area there. But that 63.90 coincided a little bit. Well, it got even lower than that. Got to 62.77 in the pre-market. So don't think it will get quite that low during the regular session.
You do have some other stocks. Yeah, some of your high-end retailers are trading down here today. Stocks like Tiffany's, stock like Coach are trading down. You had an earnings warning from London-based Burberry. A lot of these high-end retailers carry their products. The apparel retailer Tiffany's is trading down. Coach is trading down the pre-market on this Burberry warning. You've got stocks like Philip Van Heusen trading just down slightly actually. Ralph Lauren trading down. So you've got some of your high-end retailers are trading down here on this Burberry warning.
Philip Van Heusen's high end.
Well, Philip Van Heusen does fall, so maybe Philip Van Heusen. Call me out on that one. They're not high end, but it's trading down here. So I think when you get a warning from an apparel retailer here, it does drive down other stocks in the sector. But call me out on the PVH. Maybe it's not that high end. High end for me. High end for me.
I guess anything over Big Lots or Walmart would be high end for you. A lot of these stocks have had major runs here. Tiffany, Ralph Lauren, all of them have had some wicked rallies since the July lows. So don't know how much this Burberry is going to affect every one of those individual stocks. Looking at the Ralph Lauren, I mean, you had a major run up in this stock from from 137.47 up over to 160. So just looking for some double bottoms in this stock. For example, here in Ralph Lauren, you had a double bottom at 154.42 and 154.64. So I'd keep an eye on that area as support in today's session.
Tiffany's too trading down here pretty significantly today, 61.39. So some of these are really getting beat up on this. I look at that, and you got this whole uptrend thing happening here. I'll try to draw it for you on the chart. So maybe if you were looking to pick a bottom on this, it looks like 60 could be your area. We're $1.39 away from there, but it's hard to say on these high-end retailers. They do move around. These things are volatile, and you get a little bit of news in the sector, and it can bounce these stocks around. Coach, just to note too, they actually got a downgrade today as well, so they're trading down a little double whammy. Breen Murray downgrading them, so Coach trading down at 60.74 after closing at 62.60.
I mean, I'm baffled by these high-end retailers. I mean, I don't see how they sell all this expensive stuff, so we're probably talking the wrong guy on these, but 60.21's been the low in the pre-market. You got a little bounce off that. Had a big run up from 56.48 to over $63, 63.24. So right there, you have an area, I guess we could just call it our vacuum area, where when there's really not a lot of trading going on in those areas, could easily go back and fill that area in down to 57.20 is our 3-day low.
Kramer was talking about Hess last night on his show, saying that they could possibly unlock the value by breaking up the company, much like ConocoPhillips did a while back. That had the stock actually trading up on pretty good volume there last night after he started speculating on that. 53.70 is where it was trading. It's trading 53.73 just on light volume here today. But if you're wondering why Hess is trading up, it is Kramer comments in there. And the Kramer effect, he still has an effect on stocks, Joel.
Yep, not as much as Dan Dorfman did back in his day. You're probably too young to remember who he was, but 54.31 to 54.45, major resistance here. It was a double top back in early May, May 1st and May 2nd. Not a big fan of these, breaking up the company things. I mean, it's hard to really determine what the actual value is, but definitely getting a little pop here from the Kramer comments. But I would just note that it's on very, very low volume.
Goldman Sachs liking Bristol Myers this morning, upgrading them Stock is trading up 33.60 right now after closing at 33.14. So we're right there, coinciding with the September 7th high at 33.58. We're trading right there, but if we start to get above there, which I'm going to speculate that we possibly might, because Goldman upgrades often do drive a stock, you've got this whole gap area that we might get into.
Yeah, I tell you, that's a big move for this stock in the pre-market, up 46 cents. It's just popped up to 33.60. Is it bid there or offered there?
33.45 bid, 33.66 offered. But so not a ton of volume here, only 2,800 shares traded. But Goldman upgrades sometimes do drive prices higher, and we had this huge gap down back in just at the beginning of August, late July, early August. Actually, it was August 1st, where we gapped down there from the 35.50 area all the way down to the 33.50 area. So you are entering this whole vacuum area.
Yeah, keep a good point. Keeping the high on that 2-day high at 33.58, the 3-day high at 33.50. So if you're looking to, if you're looking for a play off this thing off the open, if it can bust through that 33.60, you're not finding a lot of resistance.
A couple other ones I just wanted to highlight. ExxonMobil has had this huge resistance in this 90 area, kissed it up there on Friday. It actually kissed up there yesterday too. This 90 is really putting a lid on it. There's been some big institutional selling pressure up there at 90, and those high frequency guys are feasting on that seller as they're selling in the 89.90s ahead of that 90 seller. It's trading up at 89.70, so just want to alert our listeners to that trading opportunity. As it gets back up into the 89.90s, you again have that high frequency resistance up there.
And also the two lows for the previous 2 days, 89.27 and 89.40, should provide some good support. So you could have a range-bound day here in ExxonMobil, the mid 89, 89.30, 89.35 up to that $90 level.
Well, some of our European banks are strong here again this morning. You've got Deutsche Bank trading up another dollar. It seems like every single day these stocks just continue to march up. Eventually, you got to think these things are going to take a breather, but man, Deutsche Bank's trading up, RBS Scotland trading up again. ING actually is trading flat, but it got downgraded, so it's still actually pretty good strength for a downgrade. But wow, these stocks just strong, Joel.
What's it based on?
Well, the euro, a little bit, we see it on our end because when the euro is up, and the euro has been strong, the U.S. prices go up, obviously, just to keep in line with the Europe prices. But at the same time, the stocks are strong over there too. So I don't know what the overall rally is based on here. It's continuing here though.
Yeah, I mean, besides the drogginess, things pretty much seem to be the same over there. Looking at Deutsche Bank in the pre-market, you've topped out at 41.40, so we'll keep an eye on that as resistance. But we're the secondary exchange on this, so a lot of what goes on is subject to the arbitrage going on across the pond.
Well, let's just talk about the overall market before we close the show. This whole area that we broke out from, which I highlighted here, we traded above it for 3 or 4 days. We've come back now down yesterday to the upper end of the old range. Are we going to continue to bounce here? We're up 4 points. Do you think that old 1425 area is going to, old resistance become support here now, or do we continue to drift lower?
This kind of just feels like after that weak close and the Apple sell-off yesterday, it just kind of feels like a lot of the specialists and market makers took stock home long on the close from the MOC sell orders, selling on the low of the day.
Yep.
And it just seems like it's, they're fluffing it up a little bit to exit those positions. Keep a close eye on that Globex high, 1432.50. That also was the high that we had in the stock or in the index on Thursday. So I think that's going to be a good resistance area. It just kind of feels like it's just a little bit of a dead cat bounce to me. But what's Mr. Bull think?
Well, it's a good point that you just made. We on Friday we had these MOC buys coming out. Yesterday we had a lot of market on close sell orders, so there was a lot of sell orders, and that's what drove the market down into the close. Those sell orders, those market on close sell orders. Often, if there's not enough the designated market maker on the floor, will take the other side to provide liquidity to those sell orders. So as they end up long because of they're providing all that liquidity to the sell orders, they often want to prop up the market the next day to get out of those longs. And you're right, that could be what we're seeing a little bit here this morning. That they want the market to open up a little bit so they can initiate and get out of those longs that they just bought. After that, who knows? I think keep an eye on Apple. I would have liked to have seen the 1430 hold to keep my whole bullish scenario intact. It didn't hold yesterday, so that makes me nervous. I'm still more bullish than bearish, but I'm definitely nervous about the longs. I'd like to see us continue obviously and hold some strength. If we take out yesterday's lows there, I would get really nervous. And I think you got to keep an eye on Apple. I think Apple's going to be your driver.
Okay, that's our show for today, folks, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.